Behind me is a Form 4473. Most of you have probably filled out a number of these forms. This form and a background check are required to purchase any firearm from a licensed dealer. This was brought about by the Brady Bill, which was signed into law 20 years ago. Now the folks over at the Brady Campaign are celebrating the 20-year anniversary by touting the success of this law and calling for its expansion. The Brady Campaign has claimed that 2.1 million firearm purchases have been blocked over the last 20 years, and they are further claiming that this is responsible for the dramatic drop in crime that we've seen over that same period. They then suggest that we should finish the job and expand background checks to further reduce the crime rate. This is quite a bit to respond to here, so let's break it down. Now 2.1 million sounds like a big number, but this has happened over 20 years. In 2010 alone, there were more than 6 million background checks, and that wasn't a particularly big year. That same year, 72,659 were denied, or just about 1%. Of these, 25% filed appeals, clearly believing that they should not have been prohibited. Now, prohibited people include not only violent felons, but those that have had domestic misdemeanors, nonviolent felonies, a dishonorable discharge, a medical marijuana card, or have been found mentally incompetent, sometimes by an act so mundane as signing power of attorney for financial matters over to your spouse. Most in this last category are veterans being treated by the VA. All of these people are banned for life, so some of these prohibiting events may have happened decades ago. In the end, out of 72,659 denials, the ATF prosecuted 62, finding only 13 guilty. Clearly, the vast majority of denials are not violent criminals. They are law-abiding people who in most cases were not aware they were prohibited. So do background checks prevent crime? Well, the Brady Campaign would have us believe that 2.1 million violent criminals were denied guns. Of course, it's ridiculous to think that someone who knows they are prohibited would submit themselves to a background check when they could easily have a non-prohibited friend buy it for them or buy it on the black market. It is equally as ridiculous to assume that once denied, a criminal would just give up their life of crime, rather than acquiring a firearm through other means or using a different tool. These points aside, let's look at the trends. The Brady Campaign likes to point out that violent crime has halved over the last 20 years. It has, but there's three very important things to point out. First, the downward trend began before the bill was passed and more closely correlates to the passage of laws allowing concealed carry. Second, states that had background checks in place prior to the Brady Bill saw the same drop in crime as places who didn't once the bill was passed, negating any claims of causation. 3, the ratio of crimes using guns to total crimes has not significantly changed, indicating that the same percentage of criminals are acquiring firearms. Now, there have been several studies focused on the effect of background checks on crime, and none, even those that tried, have been able to establish a positive correlation. We have seen that the Brady Bill has not reduced crime, nor has it kept guns out of the hands of criminals. So what has it accomplished? It has cost taxpayers hundreds of millions of dollars for no return. And it has denied thousands of nonviolent offenders their Second Amendment rights. And now they want to expand it. No good can come of it. Contact your representative and tell them you do not support any expansion of background checks.